In this movie, we're going to look at the next type of system family, which is called the stacked wall. Now, we looked at basic walls in a previous movie, and a basic wall is so named because, well, its structure is basic. The same structure applies across the length of the wall as it does along the height of the wall. But when you get into a stacked wall, the material is the same along the length of the wall, but it varies along its height. So what you do to create your own stacked wall is you simply take two or more basic walls and you stack them up on top of one another. So let's go ahead and have a look. I'm going to do all of this work in the project browser for right now. So if I scroll down on the project browser, toward the bottom, you're going to find a families branch. Beneath the families branch, you'll see all the various categories. And if we scroll down far enough, we'll find the walls category. And beneath it, we'll see our basic wall, our curtain wall, and our stacked wall. We've already discussed basic walls. We're going to look at curtain walls in a future movie, and let's go ahead and take a look at our stacked walls right now. Now, there's only one stacked wall in this project currently. Every project has to have at least one of each system family, so that's why we're seeing a stacked wall in here right now. What we're going to do is duplicate this stacked wall by right-clicking on it, and that will create the same name with a 2 at the end, and I'm going to right-click that, choose Rename, and I'm going to call this LDC Exterior Facade. Now, as far as naming goes, pretty common industry convention for firms to use some sort of nomenclature at the front or at the end of any names for any content they customize. So whether that's the initials of your firm or some other designation, it's pretty good best practice to get in the habit of naming things consistently so that yourself and other members of your team can easily spot the items that you've customized and know that they might want to use those in their projects as well. Now, to save us a little bit of work, I've gone in here and created 3 basic wall types to use in this stacked wall. So we're going to start at the bottom with this 14-inch concrete wall. We're going to then move up to a brick on CMU wall, and then we're going to end off with a brick parapet. So I'm going to start with the foundation wall. I'm going to right-click it and go to Type Properties and look at the properties of this wall so that we can get a sense of how the wall is going to change as we move up the stacked wall. When I edit the structure, this first wall is very simple. It's just one component, cast-in-place concrete, 1 foot 2 inches thick. I'm going to cancel one time. I don't need to get all the way back out and go to the project browser. I can do it all in this dialog. From the type list here, I'm going to change to the brick on CMU, and I'm going to click Edit, and we'll see all the various layers that are in this wall. And I'm going to change the preview here to a section preview because in addition to the layers that we're seeing here, concrete masonry units, membrane, thermal insulation, thermal air gap, and brick, we also have this item right here, a brick soldier course, which is actually a sweep, and we'll be talking about sweeps in a future movie. Let's go ahead and click Cancel. We'll go to the next one, the brick parapet. It also integrates a sweep at the top, and then its structure just simply has 2 structural brick layers, a thermal air gap, and a finished brick. So let's cancel once out of there. And again, we don't need to cancel all the way back to the project browser. At the very top of this list, we can just simply change the family name to stacked wall. That will show us the 2 stacked wall types that are available in this project. I'll choose the new one that I just created. And if you look at the structure, it doesn't look anything like the 3 walls that I just shown you. Well, that's because it's just a copy of the previous one. So let's go ahead and click the Edit button and make the modifications that we need to make. So we'll start at the bottom, and we'll select layer number 2, open up the list, and scroll down, and we're going to use the foundation wall for the bottom. We'll go to the next wall up, scroll down, locate the brick on CMU, and apply that next. With that one selected, I'm going to click the Insert button. That'll add a 3rd layer on top of the other 2. And I'm going to open up the list and change that to the brick parapet. So that's the 3 walls that I need, but you can see that they need a little bit of adjustment both vertically and horizontally. So let's move our attention to those settings. So we'll start with the height, and I'll just move over to the right of the component I have selected. And the parapet only needs to be about 3 feet tall. So I'm going to put 3 feet in here and press Enter. You can see that because layer 2 is variable, all of the height got taken up by the middle component. We're not going to change that. We're going to move down to the foundation component, and we're going to change its height to 4 feet. And again, the variable height will adjust accordingly. Now, you can actually change which one of these components is variable by clicking this button here, but only one component can be variable. So as soon as you make one variable, then the previous variable one, you have to put in an explicit height. Now, let's deal with the horizontal shift. We could come into the offset column here, and we could type in numbers to get everything to line up. But you might want to look first at the offset location line that's being used. This is the point that these numbers are referenced from. So let's start with this and see if we can get close, and then we'll edit offsets if we need to. I'm looking at this wall and I'm thinking that the exterior face of the core is probably going to give me a slightly better result. Now, I can actually zoom in this preview over here by clicking to make it active and then just rolling my wheel on my mouse, and you can see that by matching up the core face right here, we've shifted everything over, and there's a slight difference here, but that's perfectly fine because this component is narrower than this one here. I'm going to zoom back out, and that doesn't really help us too much down here because when we line up these two faces, we don't get exactly what we want. But now all I need to do is put in an offset in just one of these fields instead of two of them, so that was a little bit simpler. We're going from a 14-inch component, the concrete, to a 7 5/8 inch component, the CMU. So we just simply need to do the math and figure out what the difference is. And that's going to be 6 3/8 of an inch. And I'll press enter. And that will shift the concrete over and make the adjustment for us. And I'm going to click OK. And you can see the full preview right here. So the wall looks pretty good. That's exactly what we want. And I'll go ahead and click OK again. And the only step that remains is, because we did all the work on the project browser, we just simply now need to select the actual walls in the project. I'll use my chain selection. And then from the type selector, choose the wall that I want. Deselect. And adjust the wall, and there you have it. So, to create a stacked wall, all you need is 2 or more basic walls. Stack them up on top of each other, adjust your heights and horizontal offsets, and you're good to go.